morning shine, shine, shine. Las Vegas, shine your light on me.
Welcome to Las Vegas Tonight with your award-winning host, Dale Davidson. Dale interviews fascinating guests from top-ranked celebrities to people just like you who have an important story to tell. For more than 15 years, Dale has broadcast every week from the fabulous Las Vegas Strip. He finds the people who really make Las Vegas a one-of-a-kind city and lets the world know just what's happening in this remarkable town. You'll discover why 50 million people visit the entertainment capital of the world every year. Stay tuned for another exciting episode of Las Vegas Tonight.
Welcome to Las Vegas Tonight. I'm your host, Dale Davidson. We do our best to bring you fascinating, interesting guests here in Las Vegas, and we sure have done it this time. Sir Alfred DiMora is with us. He's a fascinating guy. He's a car designer, he's an executive, he's an actor, he's a producer, you name it. He does it all. And he came in from Palm Springs to be on the show. Alfred, thank you.
Oh, thank you.
We appreciate you coming in.
Yeah, yes.
Let's first start with the acting, and then we'll go back to your childhood.
Okay.
You're the Godfather in this television show, right?
Yeah, it's called Mark's Place.
Mark's Place
on Amazon Prime, and
okay.
Yeah, it was a fun part. They thought I was perfect for the part, so as I told you earlier, there was two other actors that came in for the part, so there was three of us to challenge that part, and they picked me for the part, so they thought, I guess I was the best on.
That's fantastic, and you say it's a comedy.
It's a sitcom. Yes.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, it's a sitcom, so it's a lot of fun. When you have a sitcom, it lightens the load on everything.
Oh, yeah, yeah, it's fun.
Yeah.
It's more fun.
It is.
What made you decide to get into acting?
My wife kept driving me saying, you should do this, you should do this. I've had many offers over the years to get into it.
Have you?
Because I was always on the other side of the camera as far as, directing, or not directing, but on the financial side of things.
Oh, okay.
For the most part.
You're an executive producer.
For the
things
most part,
like that.
yes.
Yeah, but you're enjoying it. You're having fun.
Well, it is a lot of fun. If you can get on the right set and have fun people. It's given me other jobs to take on as well now from Mark's Place. So
oh, really?
Seems like a lot of people from Hollywood must have seen that because they're calling me all the time now.
That's fantastic.
So it's become almost a full-time job.
Is that right? Wow, wow.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about your childhood, which is really interesting. You're from upstate New York, right?
From Rochester, New York originally. Yes.
Yeah. Tell us a little bit about your childhood and then also why you got so fascinated with automobiles.
My mother passed away when I was 2 years old.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, and so that I ended up with a stepmom. It was a blessing. She was going to be a nun.
Oh, really?
And met my father, and the three of us were about to be broken up.
Oh.
Because my father had fallen off of a roof, and he had broke his arm and some other things, and they decided that he couldn't take care of us. It was in the neighborhood that my mother just got off the boat. Mary is her name. And they were introduced. And in the beginning, it's funny now that I know, because my mother said, no, I didn't even like him. But apparently I ran up to her and grabbed her leg and never let go, and she decided that she was going to take on the family for us.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, and even to this day, even though she's just moved, she's 94 years old, she would go to my father's grave every week and, fix the graves. And my mother, my ex, which was nice.
Oh, that's really something.
Yeah.
That's really something. Tell us about cars. You and cars. You had an affinity for them when you were a kid, I think, huh?
Yeah, when I was like 4 years old, they got me a fire truck, with the pedals.
Yeah.
That was kind of a lot of fun. And then, I don't know, I was just blessed knowing cars. I always visioned me owning my own car company. A lot of my family thought I was crazy because I was so focused this is what I'm going to do.
You knew as a kid.
I knew exactly what I wanted to do. There was
Yeah.
nothing else in my life that I wanted to do.
That's great.
So I just think, some people are real blessed and, with the drive. I definitely had the drive.
Yes.
Because if you know anything about manufacturing cars, you wouldn't if you knew, what I know today.
Yes.
It's a very difficult endeavor for sure.
Oh, sure. It's really complex. I read in your bio, you took over when you were a kid. You weren't even old enough to drive yet, and you took over a burned out car and build it back from the ground up. Is that right?
That's correct. That was a '39 Buick. It was a gentleman up the street, and at the time I had a paper route.
Yeah.
So I had enough money. I saved up $50 to buy the car. And pretty much the guy would have given me the car, but I gave him $50 for the car and ended up restoring the whole car through a friend's house. He taught me, as we went along. He was a mechanic and a body guy, and so we did it at his house. He showed me everything and ended up becoming best car show for that particular car, and that's kind of what started my career, I guess.
That's fascinating. Yeah. And then you went to work for someone else? Is that what you did?
I did. Well, what happened was that I moved to California with $400.
Right.
And I literally slept on the beach.
How old were you at this point?
I was 18 years old.
18, okay.
I was 18 years old, just graduated. Prior to that, I was married.
Wow.
And I had 4 cars. I had a house paid for, and I had a wife. And it didn't work out. Too young,
Yes.
So I left her everything and decided I was going to go to California and build my dream, which was cars. And so that's exactly what happened. I ended up with this drawing that I did of a car and went to Beverly Hills and sit at the street corner. If you can imagine this, I'm in a leather jacket, holes in my jeans, saying, I need $2 million to build my car. On the street corner of Wilshire.
That's not quite will work for food, is it?
Exactly. And
that's funny.
Strangely enough, I had a gentleman come up to me and say, "You really believe you can do this?" And I said, "Yes." And so one thing led to another, and he funded my first car company.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
That's a God thing. That never happens.
No, it doesn't. He was a blessing.
Yes.
He really was a blessing. And from that, I ended up doing a lot of work for Clinet. I was a 6th employee at Clinet Coachworks.
Okay.
And what ended up happening from there is that I ended up buying the company.
Oh, okay.
They ended up going bankrupt, and I bought that company and sort of merged both companies together.
Oh, okay.
So I had multiple jobs going all at the same time. But they're, fancy cars, in the 30 style.
Oh, yeah. They're beautiful cars.
Looking like this.
Yeah. They're
This
really
particular
something.
one's called the Vici. This is $1.2 million.
Only 1.2 million, folks.
Yeah.
We'll put some of those up from the website as well.
Yeah.
As we're talking, because they're beautiful automobiles. In fact, one of them, one of the reviews you got said it was automotive art.
Automotive art,
Yeah.
I've been called the American Rolls Royce and all kinds of neat stuff.
Wow.
We've sold to all kinds of neat people, very, very unique, neat people over the years, because I've been doing this for 44 years now.
Wow. That's amazing.
I am the longest lasting independent car company in the world.
Is that right?
Yeah.
That's incredible.
So it is quite a defeat, As I look back at it with all my gray hair.
That's a wonderful story.
Yeah.
Let's progress. I read that you were during the year of the car, which I guess President Reagan named. What year was it?
1986.
1986, the year of the gas-powered automobile, and
That's correct.
And your car was picked as to represent all automobiles that year, right?
All of them, all over the world, and we actually went to the World Fair that year in Vancouver,
Wow.
representing the United States, and didn't make you know, it was a real honor. I could tell you that. You know, if you think about all the cars that are being manufactured,
Sure.
and you know, in the United States, we were representing the United States. So
That's phenomenal.
Yeah.
You must have gotten some great publicity out of that, did you?
yeah, not only that, we had a great time because it was the World's Fair. Instead of driving, you know, a lot of people would have a truck transport it.
Oh,
we
yeah.
drove 3 cars up there.
Did you?
To
How
Canada.
much fun, yeah.
So it turned out to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, when you stopped at customs, their jaws must have dropped.
Yeah, they had no idea.
What are you guys doing exactly?
Yeah.
That's marvelous.
Yeah.
Tell us some of the movie stars and other people like that have snapped up your automobiles that are all 6 or 7 figures. So they're beautiful cars.
Yeah. You know, in Las Vegas, Wayne Newton had
Wayne
2 of
Newton.
them. I don't know if he still has them, but he bought.
I saw a picture of him in his garage, and he had one on either side.
Yeah,
So.
he had two
Yeah.
of the vehicles. But I saw the Farrah Fawcett, Wayne, Sylvester Stallone. I mean, the list was incredible. Danny Enright from, you know, Baring and Enright.
Right.
And then it went to doctors and lawyers and real car enthusiasts.
Right.
So there were so many celebrities that we sold to. It was on Dynasty in Dallas.
Wow.
You know, on the series. So a lot of the series picked it up. If you went to the Playboy Mansion, there was probably always a Clint A out front. You know, it was just that, you know, what you had, you know.
Yeah.
Susan Stafford actually had Danny's old one, and I said, Susan, why did you sell the car? And she said, all the guys would just follow her home, so she had to stop doing that.
They wanted to see who is this woman driving this incredible car.
Right.
Yeah.
So, but we sold a lot of movie stars for sure.
Oh, that's awesome.
Julio Iglesias was another one.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, so we did sell to the music entertainment and the you know, video and audio. I mean, just you name it, we sold it.
Now, is that still going on? Because you're still building cars.
Oh yeah, without question.
Yeah.
Now it's princesses and kings and you know that kind of thing. So
Yeah.
His Highnesses and you know, so it's changed because we're, you know, worldwide now, not so regional anymore.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
When you say you're worldwide, do you have distribution elsewhere? Are there dealers that sell your cars, or do they all contact you? How does that work?
They contact us, and then what we're doing currently right now, we're now starting a dealer network.
Oh, okay.
So we had a dealer network. It worked out really great for us.
Yeah.
But we found that we sold too many cars.
You couldn't fulfill all the
Couldn't
orders.
fulfill all the orders.
Yeah.
Now it's a little differently because we're coming out with an all-electric car.
Yeah. I want to talk about that as we get into our next segment.
Sure.
Because that's big time. I mean, you're talking about a lot of employees and a factory and all that sort of stuff, which any city would love to have. Let me ask you beforehand, though, about your Mustang, because I'm a Mustang fan. It's a beautiful looking car. It looks like a Mustang, but it really isn't, is it?
Yeah, it's, you know, they range from 550 horsepower to 650 horsepower.
Wow.
Or more
Yeah.
if the customer wants it. But yeah, we totally rebuilt. We take 67 fastbacks, 68 fastbacks, totally redo them. I mean, from the ground up, we had all this strength. You know, there's tensile strength in there. There's a lot of things. And then we add the little touches to the car, electric windows, which it never had, electric emergency brake, which it never had. The whole interior glows, you know, you can have 120 different colors in the inside of the car.
Wow.
You know, the list goes on and on and on. I tell everybody, we put everything in there but the kitchen sink.
And you could do that too if you wanted to.
Yeah, no question.
Did you ever do anything? I know you did those large ones, which looked to me like Duesenbergs. But did you ever do stretch limos or anything like that? Did you stay out of that business?
We for the most part, we did. We were building a car for Bud Paxton, which was a 4-door.
Oh, yeah,
At
sure.
the time, he owned Home Shopping Network
Right,
with
I
Roy
know.
Spears.
I know about him, yeah.
Sure.
And he wanted one.
Well, he was one of my dealers, and he had
okay.
40 cars on a revolving line of credit. So every time one car sold, he would just replace it with another. And he gave me the largest order. It was 40 cars.
Wow, that's
at a time
fantastic.
in Florida.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah. He was down there, and he built the PAX network too.
He did. Yeah, he started. I went to his home in Clearwater.
Yes.
It was kind of amazing. Sitting there watching TV. He had 2 TVs there saying, well, I just made, $15,000 in 2 minutes, And I was thinking, I wish I could do that.
Yeah, he was a remarkable guy, and a friend of mine, Jim West, worked for him when they were building up the PAX network, and then now Jim owns the Christian TV station that our show's going to be on.
Sure.
So we've been on there for 9 years now, and he worked for Bud Paxton all those years. So
Sure.
Small world.
Yeah.
It really is.
Bud's on fire for the Lord as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, which is good.
That's a great thing that he's done. And he had the overnight on the PAX network, and then on the Christian network as well, where it was just beautiful Panavision 35 millimeter scenes of nature, and then beautiful music, classical music mostly, and then he'd bring up scriptures, and that would go on for 6 hours in an evening. It was calming.
Yeah. Well, that's really good.
Yeah, you could go to sleep.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're going to be back in just a couple of minutes. We so appreciate Sir Alfred DiMora joining Las Vegas tonight. We're going to keep him around another segment. We'll be back right after this.
Hi, I'm Dale Davidson, host of Las Vegas Tonight. You know, radio has an enduring place in the heart of America. Sometimes it's music that can enliven your spirit or keep you company when you need some. More often for me, it's just been the right spoken word or two that can quiet my mind and soul. Radio brings me a reassuring word in the quiet of night or a welcoming voice early in the morning as I shake off the night's sleep and find my way into God's purpose for my day. And always, I find the best radio station is the one that brings me the best news, the gospel of Jesus Christ. My favorite radio station is KKVV in Las Vegas, Nevada. It's still right where it's been for years, at 1060 on the AM dial, hovering over Sin City like a gospel airship, broadcasting the good news of the abounding love that Jesus Christ has for every single one of us. No matter who you are or where you live, you can receive God's Word via the KKVV Gospel Airship. Just go to kkvv.com and click on Listen Live. KKVV is using all the tools that God's provided them, like podcasting and video streaming and video on demand, to produce programs that lift up our fellow believers and save the lost. If you feel a calling to speak to others about Jesus Christ on your very own show, pick up the phone and call the station. They'll be happy to tell you how. Call KKVV today at 702-731-5588 or drop them an email at kkvvradio@hotmail.com. Please join me in becoming part of the KKVV family. You'll be glad you did.
We're often told that happiness is a choice. We can make lists of things we're thankful for or a list of things that we're excited about. But that happiness is artificial, which might make us feel like there's something seriously wrong with us. Why can't we just be happy? Here's something interesting. There's a study that shows only 10% of our unhappiness comes from external circumstances. So theoretically, we can choose to be happy. There's nothing wrong in choosing happiness, especially during difficult times. But this kind of happiness is artificial and hard to keep up. We put on masks and shove our emptiness and hurt down. When we try to create happiness from inside ourselves, it's easy to feel lonely and isolated. But there are times when things are going great in our lives, yet we're still feeling unsatisfied. Don't beat yourself up about feeling this way. There is hope. In any situation you're in, there are two ways of looking at it, positive and negative, right? Well, actually, it's your way or God's way. When you look at it your way, it's easy to will yourself to look for the positive, but we're left feeling restless. But what if we begin to see it from the perspective of God? Our whole world changes. When we enter into a relationship with Him, He shows us more and more about how He sees us and His creation. The Bible reveals to us His character and wisdom. It's a miraculous thing to get a glimpse of how our God sees us and our situation. Today, I'd like to invite you to experience that. By Jesus' sacrifice on the cross, we are able to receive God's grace and have a relationship with Him. If you want to learn more, please click to start a conversation with someone who is ready to answer any of the questions that you might have. We look forward to connecting with you soon.
Welcome back to Las Vegas Tonight. I'm your host, Dale Davidson. We have Alfred DiMora with us, Sir Alfred, and we're going to ask him about that in a second. We're talking about cars, and we're going to talk about the Lord. We talked about acting. This is a very interesting guest. Stick around. How did you become Sir Alfred? That's a fascinating story.
Well, I did a lot of work I was an altar boy. I was a Catholic, growing up in a Catholic neighborhood, obviously.
Sure.
And I was an altar boy and, just kind of worked up and constantly trying to help people. We raised a lot of money for kids and for the military.
Oh, okay.
So, and still raising money for the kids. Definitely want to help, I believe that kids can't help themselves, so I'm going to try to help in any way, shape, or form that I can.
That's nice.
In San Diego, we have what we call the bunny ball and the teddy ball.
What's that?
So the bunny ball is that you bring a bunny rabbit in, give us $75, and it's an all black tie event, so everybody comes in decked out.
Right.
And of course, if you don't have a black tie, it's $75 to buy one from us. And it was associated with all the car dealers in that area, including myself, and Nino runs the whole operation, and we don't take a dime. And it's a lot of fun. We end up with 400, 500, 600 people at a time.
Wow.
And they all bring in these teddy bears or bunny rabbits. And we throw them in a big pile and we give them big glasses and they jump in there. It's a fun night. They have a big DJ there.
Yeah.
It's a big to-do. We raise a lot of money. And the idea is for Easter, we can give the kids in the hospital a bunny rabbit. And help pay their bills if they can't pay their bills.
God bless you for doing it.
So it's the teddy bear is the same thing. We do it, for the teddy ball. So we do one every 6 months. And we're hoping to take that across the country, actually.
Oh, that's a great idea. Roll it out.
Yeah.
And are they at children's hospitals, the kids are? Or?
They could be in children's hospitals, or they could be home bed ridden.
Oh, okay.
A lot of them make a Wish Foundation where they're not going to last.
Yeah.
But we try to give them whatever I can. A lot of the kids' request is I just want to be in a car.
Yes.
So we try to do as much as we can.
Oh, what a blessing you are! And so the Knights of Malta honored you with a title.
That's correct. Yeah. Everyone thinks it's from England, but in Europe, there's different knighthoods, and Knights of Malta was one of them. And I worked for the church and raising money to build churches and whatnot as well.
Oh,
but it was mainly for the kids. My stepson, Josh went into the military, so we started raising money for the military, for the Marines.
Okay.
Particularly at any one time. So we did fundraisers in Beverly Hills and different places. And,
okay.
And it's not only that, it's fun and it's rewarding.
Sure it is.
It's very rewarding.
It makes you feel better, and it's very biblical.
It is, and you get blessed from it as far as I'm concerned. I started off in the business with $400, and look at me today. There isn't anything that I need or would need.
Yeah.
So I've been very blessed that way.
Yeah. Well, let's talk a little bit about your faith. You obviously use it in action. Helping those children, but How did you decide that you were going to walk with Christ?
Well, my brother Frank is very, very strong in the Christian side of things.
I understand that.
Yeah,
He's going to be a guest on our show later.
Oh, he is. Okay,
Yeah,
good.
yeah.
Yeah, he's very, very informative and very pushy. And, you know, there's a lot to learn. I believe that whoever believes in their faith, they should continue to believe in their faith, but there's a lot more to learn
Sure.
in
yeah.
other faiths.
A lot of depth. Yeah.
There's a lot of depth in a lot of different faiths. So that's how I became, you know, part of it. My wife is Christian.
Uh-huh.
It seems like everybody I do business with is a Christian.
That's
And
great.
it wasn't meant that way. It just keeps happening that way.
Yeah.
So God had a vision for me.
Yeah.
You know,
He has a way
without
of doing
question.
that.
Well, there's
Yeah.
no question in my mind.
Yeah,
You know, I have angels around me constantly.
that's great.
You know, I know that because, you know, I had a heart attack when I was 48 years old.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, and they pronounced me dead, and I came back, and it was a crazy deal. I left here, Las Vegas, and Lake Havasu. The whole ordeal took place. My wife wrote this whole deal about it. And
Oh, really?
It actually got published because it probably will save a lot of different people's lives. She had given me 2 aspirins just prior to the heart attack, which actually saved me.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. You were 48, which is pretty young for that to happen. What advice do you have for people, particularly hard driving executives like yourself? There's got to be a lot of stress on you, and that probably contributed, didn't it?
Well, for me, in my particular case, I was in Mexico, and I ended up with Montezuma revenge.
Right.
And so I got dehydrated. And not knowing enough about health, if I could teach anybody about health, that would be a great thing. Because if I would have known to go into the hospital and get hydrated, because I was so dehydrated, that caused the heart attack.
Oh,
so that's
really?
what determined caused the heart attack. Wasn't the stress. I was fortunate as a young man, I lived through all the stress, and so you know now how to deal with stress.
Yes,
you
yes.
know. So nothing really bothers me anymore. You could ask my wife.
That's a good way to be, Alfred.
Yeah.
That's a great way to be.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's talk about your latest venture, about the electric cars. You're talking about a major undertaking and mass production.
Yes.
Yeah, tell me, that's something new for you, because you have been anti-mass production in the sense that from the ground up you build these, you know, fine automobiles. Tell us why you're doing it this way and why an electric car.
I'm going to be 65 years old.
Okay.
Tell the audience that, but
Happy birthday.
yeah, and on July 4th of all
Wow,
times.
wow.
So yeah,
The All-American.
yeah, it keeps going. But I decided that turning the age that I'm turning, and without giving up on quality, I want to make sure that the quality is there for people.
Sure.
And, you know, I'm really savvy to technologies. You know, I
Right.
built the world's fastest small supercomputer in a language, one of 5 people in the world ever built a language.
Wow.
So trying to integrate all this new technology into it, so it's not just your normal technology, where it's really truly green. And so this new car, we're going to be building around 30,000 units.
Wow.
The car will sell for in the $70,000 to $90,000 range.
Okay.
We believe that the car will get around 1,800 miles to a charge.
That's much higher than what
Much
we're
higher.
doing now, isn't
Much
it?
higher.
Yeah.
And it'll take 10 minutes to charge this car up.
Wow, that's
So-
also much faster.
We're in the process of prototype now, and we're really going after it really hard. And getting back to your original question is I had to decide what to do. Do I stay small, unique, and custom?
Yeah.
But was there a way to get bigger and custom and turn it over to the employees and keep the brand going? Because it's been around for 44 years, and that's what made my decision.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Are you going to call it the DiMora?
It is. It's
Yeah.
a DiMora motor car.
Okay.
So each car has a different name. Our Natalia, for instance, we are going to be in the high end still. Mm-hmm. Our Natalia is going to sell for around $495,000.
Okay.
It is our V16 car currently right now, which we're going to bring down to all electric.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and my personal car will be about 4,000 horsepower, just to show that we can do it.
That's incredible.
And so there will be a luxury brand out there to compete against Rolls or anybody else.
Right.
I always tell people I don't have competitors, you know.
Yeah.
When you really step into our car, you understand that. You know?
Yeah, one of a kind company.
And those Natalias, we're only going to be building 75 cars a year, so we're going to keep it at a very, very limited production.
Okay.
Yeah.
On the electric car that you're going to build, you said 30,000 units a year?
Approximately 30,000 to start with, correct.
Wow. Tell me about the factory and the number of people you'll need and where you think you're going to be.
Well, I'm actually here looking in Las Vegas.
Oh, yeah, great.
Yeah.
Well, we'd love to have you.
One of our locations for sure.
Yeah.
Las Vegas has grown so much, and there's a lot of talent here.
Yes.
A lot of talent. But we plan on each shift around 5,000 employees, 3 shifts. So it's about 15,000 employees total.
That's incredible.
Yeah. And not all skilled labor, so we can, bring in. And we hope to be one of the higher paid employees.
That's great.
Employers for the employees. So
I'd love to hear that, sure.
Yeah, well, we're trying to get there. We're trying to figure this thing out now.
Yeah.
There's a lot of moving parts, as you can imagine.
I'll bet.
So, and it's exciting. It's a
Sure.
new endeavor. It's just growing my little company into a big company, which
Yeah.
I've helped several other companies do.
Oh, that's fascinating.
Yeah.
You got to raise a lot of money then, don't you? You going to go public, or what are you going to do?
No, actually, not going to go public in the beginning.
Okay.
I think that within 5 years, we'll end up going public and turning a lot of that stock to the employees.
Okay.
So that's one way to, turn it over. A lot of the money is coming from myself, and I have some individual investors that are really, really anxious to get involved. So I've learned over the years, you just don't take any money, you take the right money.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Why do you say that? Do you run into difficulties if somebody wants to run the place? They put a lot of money in and they want to overrule you. Is that what bothers you?
A lot of times, because they're not in the car business.
They don't know it. Yeah.
They don't know it. And then the people that are really in the car business, they don't see your vision. For instance, in 1997, when I said I was going to build the world's fastest small supercomputer, they said, "You're nuts. Why would you do that?" I said, "Because cars are going to become computers."
Right.
And they really left me out. And today,
That's what they are.
that's exactly what they are.
Yeah.
So they also told me I couldn't build that supercomputer in my lifetime, and we did it within 2.5 years.
That's fantastic.
And started delivering to NASA, and you can read it on my website, DiMora Motorcar.
Wow.
Yeah. So
That's fascinating.
Yeah. So the technologies that we've learned over the years we're applying. One of the other technologies is we're using hemp, for instance.
Wow.
Right, for the interiors.
Okay.
And then we have a special dye for that was been created through a partnership.
Okay.
And that is an all-natural dye. So we take hemp and tobacco, and then we actually make a powder out of it, and we take dandelions if it's going to be a yellow color. So we have a different palettes of different colors that you can do. And it's terribly exciting because no bugs will want to get next to the car. Mice hate it. Cockroaches hate it because of the tobacco.
Oh, I see.
But at the other side of the coin, which is the real good factor to it, is that it doesn't hurt the environment. So the dye that you wear on our suits today and whatnot is toxic. This is non-toxic. Wow. So hotels now have become interested because you can do drapes, beds, carpet, all kinds of neat things. So we have a company called Tiger Fiber in Missouri, which is just growing like wildweed.
That's funny. That's funny. Yeah.
And so we hope to supply, more than us. We've had Chanel and all kinds of people requesting and actually, using.
Yeah.
Sneakers could be made from it. The key is you're not putting all this toxic stuff down a drain.
Yes.
And we
yes.
also came up with a non-toxic cleaner to clean the equipment.
Wow.
So it was imagining all the equipment, how to do it, and I must say it was probably about 16 years to develop everything.
Is that right? Wow. That's fascinating. That truly is. So you started another company in order to manufacture these products.
Right. So now that company's DiMora Colors is now in Tiger Fiber.
Okay.
And so Tiger Fiber will supply DiMora Motor Car and the world product.
Wow. That's fascinating.
Yeah.
What a guy, huh? Really interesting stuff. You're truly an inventor, aren't you?
Well, I love it. You know,
Yeah.
if it's challenging enough, that's me.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, some people, I've noticed this about inventors and builders and architects. They can envision something out there, see it as a whole before anybody else can. Do you feel that you have that gift? Did the Lord give you that
I
gift?
think without question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can see the car in your head.
I can see cars, I can see buildings. If you've seen some of the designs that I've been involved with,
Yeah.
you'll see, you know, that we are so far ahead of things. And I'm not sure where it all comes from, or I do know, but, you know,
Yeah.
people think I'm crazy. So, okay,
Yes.
you know, I keep it to myself. But we're definitely at least 10 years ahead of anybody out there, and vision-wise, right?
Yeah,
So,
yeah. They say a CEO is supposed to cast the vision, but you're really doing it. You know,
Yeah.
you're envisioning what the product's going to look like before you've even built the tools you need to make it.
Yeah, and you know, it's not even the product, it's the buildings to build the product and the
Yeah.
machinery to make sure that we're more efficient than the other guys are. So everything has to be looked at. So, you know, forget the 7,900 parts that it takes to build the car. Now you have a building and
Oh,
power and, you know, governments and, you know, crash
Environment
testing and making sure that
Yeah.
the cars are very safe.
Wow.
That's one of my real pet peeves. Make this car as safe as we can make it.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
That's great. We're going to be back with this fascinating guy. Isn't he inventive? Sir Alfred DiMora. We'll be back right after this.
There is hope.
There is hope.
There is hope.
God,
He has given us hope despite the pain.
hope in the face of evil.
You no longer need to be baffled, frustrated,
Disturbed. Sad. Or angry.
because of the pain in this world.
If you're willing to put your hope in God
and His Son, Jesus,
You'll see the pain of this world is temporary.
Compared to the life to come.
This world has opinions on what is right and what is wrong.
But you don't need to rely on what the world says is best or what you think feels most comfortable.
If you choose to accept God's grace through Jesus,
You'll live according to God's Spirit.
And with God's Spirit,
You'll choose to step apart from this world and put away all the fear,
Hurt.
pain, despair.
And your past, no matter what has happened,
will be over in God's eyes.
When you say yes to God's Spirit
and His Son Jesus,
you are suddenly adopted into the greatest family in the world.
You can say, I hope in God.
I hope in Daddy.
God is my Father.
God's own Spirit
Lets you know deep in your heart
that you are part of His family.
There's peace so deep, you'll feel it in your bones.
When you choose to glorify Jesus
and hope in what He offers, you'll be carried through the pain
and darkness of this world.
He promises that He will lead you into the goodness of the life to come.
There's hope.
There is hope.
There is hope.
There is hope.
Welcome back to Las Vegas Tonight. I'm your host, Dale Davidson. We are with Sir Alfred DiMora of DiMora Motor Cars, and I'm going to talk him into giving one away to one of our viewers. Because, you know, what's $500,000 here or there? How do you price them? How do you decide, okay, this one's $500,000, this one's $1 million? How do you come up with the number?
Well, a lot of people ask me, how do I come up with that number? It's a very good question.
Yeah.
And, you know, it depends on the build of the car. People don't realize how much has to go into a car. It's time consuming.
Yeah.
It costs a lot of money to do it. So that sort of sets out the price. On our Natalia, obviously at $2 million, it doesn't take $2 million to build the car.
Right.
On that particular car, it's because I can ask $2 million for it. So,
and get it.
And get it, yeah. And the Natalia is named after, I name all my cars after women, and the Natalia is my mother's maiden name.
Oh, okay.
So it's the Natalia SLS 2, Sports Luxury Sedan. 2 means how much it cost.
$2 million.
$2 million. So when you see a number on the side of my car, you know how much it cost.
That's easy. So there's no when you do have your dealer network, there'll be no negotiating, will there?
We've never negotiated.
Yeah, you just said,
in fact, our cars typically go over sticker because they're hard to get.
Oh, is that right?
Yes.
That's fascinating.
Yeah.
That really is. That's happening in the real estate business now.
Absolutely is.
You know, particularly in your state.
It's going crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really has gone nuts.
Speaking of California, I want to talk politics with you a little bit if we can.
Sure.
A lot of people, and you're looking at possibly moving a company here. Other companies in California are doing the same. Taxes are part of it. You know, you got some pretty serious taxes going on there. I know some, pretty big names. Tesla, for example, has talked about moving out. What do you think it's going to take? And I'll try to represent the interest of California for just a minute. What would it take to keep these companies there? Because California has a long history of manufacturing. Going back to planes during World War II.
Yeah.
What do you think it would take to improve the business climate in your state?
Well, one thing I want to say is that the innovation does come out of California.
Yeah.
Anytime you see something, it's California first, then New York, and then the rest of the world. Right?
It happens that way, doesn't it?
It does happen that way.
Yeah.
I hate to see that leave, and the same for us. We hate to leave as well.
Yeah.
But the taxes are so high. There's no incentives to be in California. In fact, there's a disincentive not to be there.
Yeah.
So they need to revamp bringing people in back to the opportunity zones, the grant money, and somehow revamping the whole thing.
Yeah.
I'm not the expert in it, but I know that there's a lot of people out there that say, let's get back to what we used to be in the 50s, 60s, 70s.
Yeah, there was a lot of manufacturing, and as you say, a lot of innovation, coming out of that state. It's like we always looked to California for what's going to happen next everywhere else, not just that kind of stuff, but the political aspects of it all. You're an intelligent businessman who has to deal with politics and Washington and lobbying and those kinds of things. We seem to be at loggerheads as Americans right now. You know, we got a left, we got a right, and it's really hard to get together. The strength of our nation and our political structure seems to be people would come to the center. You know, they might start out in the primaries, you know, with the more radical base, and then, you know, by the time the general election came, you know, they were in the middle somewhere. But that doesn't seem to exist now, and it's hard to see how it can. Tell me what your thoughts are on that.
Times have changed.
Yeah.
Computer business, the internet's changed things. We see things right away. Before, we never used to see things right away. We might have heard of it. A month later, we might have seen it in the paper, but we didn't really know what to believe or not to believe.
Right.
Right?
Okay.
Today, everything's instant. I mean, you know, you have a camera,
yeah.
Bam, you're right there. You're on the internet, and if you see something, you can put it out there. There it is.
Yeah.
But I see the younger generation where I always say, you know, people tell me that I have a lot of luck, and I would say, no, it's a 4-letter word. It's called work.
Right.
Right?
Right.
I don't see that in younger people today.
Oh, okay.
I don't see that, okay, I'm going to go out and I'm going to go nail this down. I see him behind a computer, and anytime that you see somebody, my daughter, she drives me crazy. She's typing on her phone, and the person's right across the, you know, right there, you can see her. You know, and I tell my wife, don't text me because I'm not going to read it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to talk to somebody.
That's
I want
funny.
to know in person who those people are. And I think we've lost that. So now the country's now divided. The government's saying, hey, we'll pay you to survive. Don't worry about it. You know, and the other people are saying, wait a minute, we work so hard to get there. Why are you going to take it from us?
Yeah.
So
to support people.
I get both sides because I've been on both sides of the fence. I've been poor and I've been lucky.
Yeah.
Right? Believe me, the rich don't mind giving to the poor. They just don't want to hand it to them. That's what I see.
Yeah. Ronald Reagan, who was my favorite president in my lifetime, believed in workfare, you know, not welfare. And to say to people, yeah, we're going to see that you make a living wage, but you're going to have to work.
Yep.
And I wonder whether something like a WPA with Roosevelt would be good for our infrastructure, because we have roads and bridges and things like that, as you well know, being in our automotive business, that need work. What do you think of that as a concept?
Well, without question, there's a lot of work out there, but you know, who's going to pay for it is now the big question.
Right.
And I think that the governors have too much power. I think that the when you're talking about Congress, they should rotate Congress out. You don't become a lifer. You need to rotate it out to be fair.
Yeah.
You know, and that's one of the problems that I see in Washington. You have these guys in office for 35 years. Well, 40 years.
Yeah.
So, you know, they're
hidebound.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I worry too about, and we'll get into the faith-based things right now, but I worry about the coarseness of our society. I didn't even bother to watch the Grammys this year because I knew it was going to bother me, and from what I hear, I'm glad I didn't. Entertainment, in particular, and you've been a movie producer, music, even fine art, have gotten really crude, and I think that's due to a lack of religious instruction, if you will, of kids. What do you think we should be doing about that?
Well, I'll tell you, I'm very concerned what's happening with the churches and the government now stepping into the churches.
Yes.
I believe they have no business in there. You're on borderline communist, and I hate to say that, but that's how I see it.
Sure.
When they start directing people in churches and whatnot, well, what is that called? That's socialism, without question.
Yes.
Right? You can go to Venezuela, you can go to other places, and you can see it. Now, why half of the other people don't see it, and I'm not saying switch all the way over, but they're just too far left.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I agree.
So they need to come back and get that unity. That's my, one reporter's report to you saying, let's try to unify this thing. Let's try to figure this thing out.
Sure.
We don't want to become China. I've been in and out of China a lot. We manufactured our cell phones in China.
Oh, okay.
But, it's difficult. You don't really realize, what kind of restrictions and restraint that you have over you if you become socialism.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, part of that is the lack of civics instruction. When I was in high school, your senior year, you took civics, and explained how does a bill become a law, and those kinds of things. And a lot of schools are not doing it anymore.
Well, it's not only the schools. Go back to the parents. I mean, if I was out of line, my father had no trouble punching me. Today, the kids call the police and you go to jail.
Yeah.
So you can't even say, anything to the kids, basically. So how are they going to get good guidance?
Yeah.
That's, and it works that way from when you're a kid all the way through to you're an adult.
Yeah. And religious instruction, which is what I call it, is key, isn't it?
Right.
My kids all went to Catholic schools all the way through college. And I'm not Catholic personally, but they were. My first wife was Catholic. And they were altar boys and all. And I'm not saying they're perfect kids. They're adults now, of course. But they had that instruction. They had that basis.
Yep.
And when you have that basis, you can really learn the subject. But God is in math. God is in science.
Yep.
God is in every subject.
Yep. I totally agree with that.
Yeah.
People just need to be taught.
Yeah.
And actually absorb the information.
Yeah. We just have a couple of minutes left, Alfred. This is your camera here. Let me ask you if you want to say anything to the folks. Specifically, what I'm thinking is talk a little bit about your Christian faith and why it's a good idea. We have millions of viewers of this program. Many of them are not Christians. They saw that. Here's an interesting guy I think I saw on television. Isn't it the Don there, the Don of Dons? And so they stuck with us up to this point because they found it interesting. Mm-hmm. If you wouldn't mind maybe addressing the audience a little bit and talking about why Christ is a good idea.
Again, this is my belief, is that, if you believe and if you give, I always believe what comes around goes around. And it's so important to understand what it is, and sometimes it's very difficult to understand. It's hard to believe. But once you understand it, and I'm not sure if it's age or something drastic happens in your life, or just pick up a Bible and read it and understand it, because once you get into it, then you kind of feel something, and whether it's a warmness in your body or whatever, but that's the first sign, I believe, the saying, hey, something's now entering into you, you can believe and have a lot of faith. The faith, I mean, I would have never dreamt that I have a star on the Walk of Fame. I would have never dreamt that I met all these movie stars. And I got into business because of Bo Hopkins, which was American Graffiti. And I've seen the show about 30 times. And next thing you know, Bo Hopkins is my best friend. Coming out of Rochester, New York, barely graduating high school, you would think this would never or could ever happen to me, So I just believe that if you just open your heart and try and take a look, and those that do believe, continue going on, and please do give and help. It doesn't have to be the kids. It could be anybody next to you, but help them.
Wow. Thank you very much. That was very touching. It really was. It was great having you on the show.
Okay.
We'll have you again.
Yeah.
And we'll have your brother before we bring you back again, and it'll be all DiMora all the time. Thanks for coming on the show.
Pleasure.
God bless you.
Thank you for having me.
Sir Alfred DiMora, terrific guest. And as I try to remember to say each and every episode of Las Vegas Tonight, thank you for watching. And when it comes to our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, please walk with Him. God bless you.
You know, one of the worst feelings imaginable is the feeling of being alone. I mean, this is why solitary confinement is one of the cruelest punishments ever in human history.
Yeah, we were designed for relationships. The most meaningful thing in life is to be truly known by another person.
But this can actually be kind of scary, too. I mean, what if I let people down? Or what if when someone learns who I really am, they'll realize they can't really love me? I mean, how are we supposed to really find meaningful relationships?
And so the Bible speaks to all of this. It says that God created the world in order to share with us the beauty of existence.
God's desire for us is to have significant friendships, to be part of families, to create things, and to share our work with others.
And all the while depending on God as our source of love and life.
But here's the thing, there's so many barriers to that. There's loneliness, fear, hatred.
And the Bible claims that these are a result of our being disconnected from God. Without God, we don't actually know who we are anymore. But at the center of the Bible story is Jesus, who wants to bring us back into a relationship with God. Jesus claimed that God loves us for who we are, and that He calls us into a relationship with Him despite our failures. And when you realize how loved you are by God, that He is not ashamed of you, it changes everything. It gives you a source of love that is not your own.
So the story of the Bible is calling us into the most important relationship.
Yeah, it's calling us to know and be known by the Creator God Himself.
Happiness, harmony, just the two of you. But suddenly, you're alone. You don't know what to do or how to live. Suffocation slowly killing you. The fear overpowering you. Nothing makes sense. But you're not alone. The one who created love knows your heart. He is Jesus, who brings life so you will breathe again.
Come on and shine, shine, shine. Las Vegas, shine your light on me.
You've been watching Las Vegas Tonight with your host, Dale Davidson. We hope you've enjoyed this edition of our show. We so appreciate your loyalty to our program. To keep Las Vegas Tonight on the air, please go to our website, vegassaints.org, and click the Donate button. To send a check or money order, please make it out to Dale Wynn Davidson Ministries and mail it to 9030 West Sahara Avenue, Suite 255, Las Vegas, Nevada, 89117. To suggest a guest to appear on the show or any other suggestions or questions, write to Dale at dalewdavidson@yahoo.com or call him at 702-480-3989.
Shine, Las Vegas, shine.